Jinger Duggar shared details about a horrible medical experience she had shortly after giving birth to her first child during a recent episode of her podcast. The reality TV star and her husband of 8 years, Jeremy Vu, are currently expecting their third child. Together, they also share daughters, Felicity 6 and Evangeline, who turned 4 on Friday, November 22nd, while reflecting on their 8-year wedding anniversary and their early parenting experiences on the November 20th episode of the Jinger and Jeremy podcast. The sixth child of Jim, Bob, and Michelle, Duggar thought back on the interesting drive they took from a hospital in San Antonio, Texas, to their home in Laredo. After Felicity was born, it was pretty wild, because they were like, well, you've been doing great after having Felicity. You shouldn't be in much pain, the Counting On star recalled her doctor saying, but they were like, we're going to give you 1 dose of medicine just to get you home. The drive to Laredo took more than 2 hours, recalled, though she thought the doctors would give her ibuprofen. She said the medication she received felt much stronger. They gave me some serious, I was going to say hard drug. Duggar said it was bad. The 19 kids and counting alum explained that she rarely takes medicine, though she makes exceptions for epidurals during childbirth and ibuprofen in extreme circumstances. Yeah, you hate taking medicine, Vu observed, though Duggar wasn't sure exactly what kind of medication she was given at the hospital. On that day back in 2018, she remembered that it made her feel so nauseous. I sat in the car with the AC blasting, and I was just so sick. And I felt shaky. I felt horrible, she said. And to this day, I don't know what that medicine was they gave me, but I will never let them do that again when I leave the hospital. I'm fine. I feel great. Don't give me any meds. I take my own if I need to. It's a decision she stuck with for the birth of her second daughter in 2020. I just made sure they gave me just normal ibuprofen, nothing crazy, Duggar said. Jinger Duggar and Jeremy Vu released another episode of their podcast. This time the couple talked about their marriage, Felicity Vallo's ride home from the hospital after she was born, and more about their lives. Interestingly enough, the Counting On couple revealed that bringing Felicity home was complex. They even had to film them coming home after the couple had already arrived, due to how Jinger felt after the over 2-hour drive home. Behind the scenes talk isn't something Jinger and Jeremy do often. They moved to a more curated life following the cancellation of Counting On and shared only what they wanted with their followers. Privacy is important to them, especially where their daughters are concerned. Jinger is expecting their third child and followers are waiting for a gender reveal video. However, watching Jinger talk about her experience leaving the hospital after welcoming Felicity was interesting, especially given how she explained things. Jinger Duggar revealed that she avoids taking medication except for ibuprofen when needed. However, because Jinger and Jeremy Vu welcomed Felicity in San Antonio, Texas, they had a long drive home to Laredo. The doctor advised Jinger to take something to be more comfortable. She thought it would be similar to ibuprofen. She said they gave me some serious, I was going to say hard drugs. That wasn't the case, though the Counting On star felt sick when she got in the car, and her symptoms worsened as they drove home. They were so bad that she asked the camera crew to shut things down. Jinger continued, I sat in the car with the AC blasting, and I was just so sick, and I felt shaky. I felt horrible. And to this day, I don't know what that medicine was they gave me, but I will never let them do that again. The Counting On couple touched on multiple topics during their podcast, including Josh and how his choices affected their marriage. Everything about the family was public. But when the 2015 scandal broke, they weren't even courting, yet they didn't begin to court until December 2015 and married in November 2016. They weathered the first scandal together, but the Sam revelations and what happened with them were more taxing. Jeremy Vu issued a statement condemning his brother-in-law, saying more than most of the siblings did, the couple's life has changed a lot over the last 8 years. And there will likely be more changes as they continue. Jinger Duggar doesn't like taking medication unless she absolutely has to after she gave birth to her first child daughter Felicity in 2018. Duggar, 30, made an exception and took what she thought was something like endure the 2.5-hour ride home from the hospital. It was not ibuprofen. Du doesn't know what it was, but she described it as feeling like hard drugs. When she recounted story on the Jinger and Jeremy podcast, I wasn't thinking it was going to be anything more than ibuprofen. They gave me some serious hard, I was going to say hard drugs, she said on the episode released Wednesday, November 20th. Doctors gave her the medicine about 10 minutes before the couple left the hospital in San Antonio, headed back toward their home in Laredo, Texas. They gave me something, and I don't remember what it was, but it made me so nauseous, she said. I felt like I was going to vomit the second I got in the car, with a counting on crew by her side for the trip home. Duggar needed to ask them to turn off the GoPro cameras they were using to document the ride. I sat in the car with the AC blasting, and I was just so sick, and I felt shaky, she said. I felt horrible. And to this day, I don't know what that medicine was they gave me, but I will never let them do that again. Duggar's sickness lasted the entire ride back to Laredo, putting the arrival home with the new baby into jeopardy for the crew. They had to give me a little bit of time, and then they took another lap around the block once I was feeling a little bit better. She remembered they turned the GoPros on to make it look like I was pulling up into the house, even though I'd been there for a bit. For her husband, Jeremy Vu, the trip was just as harrowing, albeit for a different reason. With Duggar out of commission, he was left to deal with the stress of driving a newborn baby home. For the first time, I was tense too. I was like 2 hands on the wheel. You've got his fragile little baby, who even in the car seat looks like a peanut, he said. And so I was just looking at all these reckless drivers. I'd never been more conscious in my life. I was more conscious of the rules and regulations of driving than when I was taking my driver's test. Thankfully for both, Duggar said she learned her lesson when she had daughter Evangeline in 2020. She said that after the epidural, she told the doctors only to give her ibuprofen.